So hello again. We will talk about the physiology of the permanent dentition, and this is supposed to be your last chapter in the book. Okay, physiology of the permanent dentition. That you will need it to know the relation between each and every tooth with the surrounding oral tissues. Okay. At first, you will have to know what does it say the phrase form and function. What's the relation between evolution of the form to suit the function. We will talk about size of crown and root. We will talk about the spaces between the teeth interproximally, the proximal contacts. We will talk about what we call embrasures, okay, or the spillways. And we will talk about the facial and lingual contours of the teeth also. Then mesial distal. We will talk about the cervical line curvatures and the occlusal curvature. So at first, what you need to know that the morphological feature of the teeth are fitted to the function of the tooth. So the concept of form and function, it explains the relation between the shape, morphology or the shape of the tooth to the part of function. In dentistry, we have a masticatory system which acts as a functional unit. For example, we have a individual functions of the whole complex system that's called orofacial complex, and the functions are includes the mastication, the deglutition, which means the grinding, the phonetics, the aesthetics, and the maintenance. Okay, we will need to know that the primary function of teeth is to prepare the food for easier swallowing and digestion, okay, to transfer the food to the GI system. This is a primary function. Now what we have is the adaptive form and the adaptive alignment. The different types of teeth with their respective forms are adapted to incise, to shear, and to grind according to the form or the morphology of the tooth, and they have proper form and proper alignment that helps to protect the supporting periodontal tissues. Periodontal, it means around the dental tissue, which are which will help support it against the trauma, against during mastication, high forces of mastication. It will facilitate the movement of the jaws, and it will help in the speech and aesthetic appearance of the face. All this is due to the alignment of the dental teeth, teeth in the jaw. Sorry. In order to understand, we will have these aspects, different aspects, to help you relate how the form is related to the function. Now, firstly, the size of the crown and the root. The crown and the root, it should be proportional to each other and to the jaw size. So, the having here to talk about the jaw sizes, you need to know that in the human tissue, in the human species, it is different. We call that it is sorry, the sizes of the jaw is different, proportional to the jaw sizes. You will need to know that the upper jaw is bigger or larger than the lower or mandibular jaw. Also, each teeth are different. The anterior to the premolars to the molar teeth, we will have difference in sizes, okay, according to their function of the tooth. Different sizes, we say, of the crown, size of the crown, also size of the crown dimensionally, mesial distal, and buccolingual dimension. Also, we have different sizes of roots. For example, the canines have the longest roots, as we know, because they are at the corner of the mouth and they help they are located in the corners, which we need more anchorage and for shearing of the food. Number one, we have also molars, maxillary or either maxillary or mandibular molars. We will have what we call multiple roots. We have in the upper molars, we have what we call trifurcation. Okay, multiple 3 roots to withstand the high forces in the maxilla. We need high anchorage in the maxilla. Here here you see high forces of anchorage in a small compacted bone in the maxilla. So we will have this tripod arrangement, and we will have higher anchorage compared to the anterior teeth, for example. Also, we can say that we have developmental depressions on the surfaces of the roots. Okay, especially laterally, we have depressions, mesial and distal, to help more with the anchorage in the bone, whether here or in the anterior or in the posterior teeth. Now, moving secondly to the form and jaw function, what you need to know is that we have a interlocking type of jaw. Interlocking, it means that the maxilla, it overlaps the mandible. What is significant, and we have a a schematic representation at the end of the lecture, you will see that the maxilla, it's the arrangement of not equal sizes jaws, but we have a maxilla that is larger than the mandible. Okay, this is different from other species, and it is called anisognathic. Okay, anisognathic, which is not equal sized jaws. What is different that in this gives more complexity to the TMJ movement. You will later know that the teeth and the temporomandibular jaw, temporomandibular junction movement are related and associated to each other. So as we have complexity of the anatomy in the teeth, we will have more complex jaw movements. Now in the human, we have with what is called the temporomandibular joint is a complex movement jaw. We don't have the simple opening and closing. Okay, we have a complex morphology, isognathic jaws, which are equal sized but overlapping, and we have in the animals that we have also no much lateral movements. In the human, we have complex and we have lateral excursions. Okay, this is the prognathic jaws, and we have the occlusal anatomy of the teeth, and we have the muscle system, masticatory muscle system, that is very also ligaments around the teeth and around the periodontal. This is the periodontal ligament. Also, that helps a limited jaw movement, but that is more complex than other animals. Okay. What we say here for conical form of teeth, the canine teeth are prominent in the humans, and it helps to they have not the conical shape. The conical shape in the canine, it will help the limiting of the lateral excursions. Okay, it stops, it serves as a stop. Moreover, so when we say that we don't have equal sized, when we say that the maxilla overlaps the mandible, when we say that the maxilla is more labially, and in the horizontal plane it's more labially located, we can say that the temporomandibular joint is specialized and it has complex movement associated with the teeth also form. Now, thirdly, moving to the spaces in between the teeth, we have a when viewed from the facial and the lingual aspects, the teeth are narrower at the cervix, while wider in the occlusal or the incisal surface. Okay, this arrangement, it will help to create some triangular or pyramidal in shape. Okay, the space in between the teeth, it will be pyramidal or triangular in shape. Here you go. Because cervical is narrow and here it is larger, the largest proximal area. Okay, so the approximating the teeth is just cervical to the contact area. This space that is cervical to the contact area in between each two adjacent teeth. This is called a interproximal space. This is the interdental gingiva in the triangle, red triangle. The base of the triangle here, it is towards the bone, and the two sides for each of the adjacent teeth. We say that the spaces here, it is accommodated to protect the gingiva. Now, this is different for anterior teeth and posterior teeth, where we have the covering of the attached gingiva. This is called a free gingiva. Here it is free, it's mobile, it is mobile, okay, in between the teeth. This mobility, while here it is attached, the gingiva is not mobile, it is attached, while here it is mobile. This mobility, we call it free gingiva here, or marginal gingiva, or mobile gingiva, or interdental papilla. Okay, it fills the space in between the teeth. Here, what you need to know that the faciolingually, when you see it interproximally from the buccal to the lingual aspect, we call it a coll. A coll is a depression in between two elevations. So here we will have interdental papilla on this side. From the lingual side in posterior teeth, we will have also a lingual interdental papilla. In between papilla and papilla, which means a projection and another projection, we have a depression. This depression is called a coll. Okay, the coll is the as the coll of the shirt. Okay, it is the neck here, the depression. Okay, the neck between the mountains or between the papilla, and it is called the coll. This coll will help to protect these, the contacts in between the teeth help protect the coll inside. Okay, when we view it here, the roots of the teeth, they will, the roots of the teeth, and this is the crown, and here is the coll that protects the gingiva. Interproximally, this space vary. Okay. Here we go. The root will taper. For best anchorage, it will go to the interproximal area. Okay, either it will go distally, as we said. As we go more posterior, the root will go more distally. Okay, because it is more anchored here. Also, we can say that the roots are more, when they are more spaced, we have more anchorage. Okay. This is the contact area in between the teeth, and upper to it is called a proximal interproximal space. Okay, this will vary in between the adjacent teeth. So according to the alignment and according to the of each two teeth together, according to the alignment, which is different here in the midline, the alignment of the teeth and the contact between the teeth makes different essentially to provide this interproximal space between the teeth that is filled by the gingiva, the soft tissue. Okay, so this is a hard tissue, and this is a soft tissue in between the teeth. Now, if you want to say the proximal contact areas, where, how would they change? The contact will become more broad as we go posteriorly. Here we said the small contact areas, while as we go more posteriorly, we know that it becomes a broad contact area. So we say a contact area, not a contact point anymore, okay, in the molars. So as we go to the the first molar, the second molar, we will have different contacts. What is different? The only teeth that they don't have contact with adjacent teeth is the last tooth in the jaw, the last molar, and also the contact here is different in the midline because we have a same type of tooth, central incisor with a central incisor, the mandibular central incisor with the mandibular central incisor, where we have mesial to mesial. Okay, junction. The adjacent teeth should have, as we said, proper contact relationship in between them. So as exception, the maxillary and the mandibular central incisors, we have mesial to mesial, while all other teeth have mesial to distal. Okay, the maxillary and the mandibular teeth, we have tight contacts in between them, we have a V-shaped, as we said, to help the anchorage. What I will tell you is that proper contact relation between the adjacent teeth will help in different reasons. First, the adjacent teeth are in contact with each other, so the whole dental arch, it will function as one unit. Let's go back here. Yes. The whole arch, okay, the whole arch will function as a single unit, and the masticatory forces will be distributed equally. Okay, number one. Number two, the anchorage of all the teeth will ensure a stability occlusally. Okay, will ensure a stability to the occlusion and masticatory forces. And if we have the contact, proper contact between the teeth, it will prevent any impaction of food in between the teeth. This is very important because the impaction of food will lead to caries. It will lead to periodontal problems in the periodontal ligament, problems in the gingiva. Okay, so we need proper contact between the teeth. The last thing to say is that the tight contact between the adjacent teeth will help protecting the tissue, as we said, the interproximal gingiva and the coll that is buccolingually. We will help it it will act as a diverting for the food. It will divert the food, or it will stop the impaction of the food. Okay, so the position of the contact areas. Let's go here. Contact areas as viewed from the facial, or the what we call buccal labial. Facial is buccal or labial. And we will see the location of the proximal contacts also as viewed from the occlusal surface. Now, as viewed from here, from facial side, the relative position between the contact areas here in the labial or buccal, we have the cervico-incisally or cervico-occlusally. You will need to know where is the contact area. How does it change from going from anterior towards posterior? Okay, you will know that the contact area goes from cervical, from incisor or occlusal aspect towards the toward a cervical position, more cervical position. Okay, so the contact areas will become more cervically positioned when moving away from the midline. This is a very important one. Number two, the distal contact area is always more cervically placed compared to the mesial contact area, and this is a general rule. General rule, it means it is in all the teeth. We have exceptions, okay? We have two exceptions. In all the teeth, the mesial contact area is the distal contact area is more cervically located, except in the mandibular permanent first premolar, the mandibular permanent 4, we have the mesial contact area cervically located compared to the distal contact area. The other exception is the mandibular here permanent central incisor. Okay, the mandibular central incisor, we have both are at the same level. This is not different, but we say that the mandibular central incisor is a mirror image. Mirror image mesial is at same level of distal. Okay, it seems as an exception. The other exception is the mandibular 4 or mandibular first premolar. Okay. Now in the anterior teeth, also we say that the contact areas are mostly diverse or not similar, while as we go more posteriorly, the contact of mesial and distal seems to be more close to each other, okay, at similar level almost, as you have noticed. This is number one. Number two, here it is in the anterior teeth. In the posterior teeth, we have morely all of them are at the same level. Mesial and distal, they come at the same level compared to anterior teeth. Okay, we have the premolar teeth. It's mostly in the middle cervical, okay, while in the molar it will be more regular. Mesial and distal contacts will be usually in the middle of the middle of the crown. Okay, the contact areas will become, as we go more posterior towards the second and third molar, it will become distally more cervical located. Okay. Now, if we want to know the second thing, here is the proximal contacts as viewed from the occlusal side. Let's see if we have a picture. Here is the occlusal side. As you see from the occlusal side, which means buccolingual location, okay? The anterior teeth, we have contact areas nearly center labiolingually, okay? Small, and in the center, in the midline labiolingually, the contacts. While if you go to posterior teeth, the contact areas are more, we said it's more larger proximal areas. We said broad, let's say. Also, the contact areas tend to be placed buccally to the line, to the center line that bisects the tooth mesiodistal to buccal and lingual. Okay, so the middle of the tooth, the contact area seems to be placed more buccally. Okay, compared to maxillary teeth, the mandibular teeth will be more centered, while in the maxillary it will be more buccally located. Now this is a general rule, let's say. Okay, this is a general rule. This is what we said from anterior, from facial view. We go from mesial, and as we go distally, we go more cervically. This schema or diagram, it will help you to locate the contact areas as have explained. The distal contact area more cervically placed according to compared to mesial, and as we go away from the midline, you will know the differences from anterior anterior premolars and molar teeth, or anterior posterior, let's say. Okay, good talk about the contact areas. Actually, you will need to know these general rules. Now we move to what we call a embrasure or a spillway. Spillway, it means a way to escape way. Okay, the embrasures, it's not cervical to the contact area, it's anything that is occlusal or incisal to the contact area. So when we have two adjacent teeth, we have in the same dental arch, we will have contact curvature that is V-shaped also. V-shaped contact, it is called the embrasure or the spillway. We have narrowest part, it is close to the contact area, and the broadest part is away from the contact area. From here, the space, it widens to go to, we have a labial embrasure, we have lingual embrasure from the other side, and we have occlusal embrasure to form what we call incisal or occlusal embrasure, as we say here. Okay, that is more occlusally located compared to the contact point. Okay, this is different. So this is called an occlusal embrasure, while if you look from up, this is a buccal embrasure, this is a lingual embrasure. Okay, now let's stay here a little. Let me tell you about, in generally, all of the teeth here. In generally, the ideal embrasure, it should be symmetrical. We should have ideally symmetrical embrasures. Okay, it should be proximal surfaces as mirror image. So when we say lateral incisors, it should be same mirror image or same symmetrical embrasure. This is number one. Number two, we have marginal ridges and cemento-enamel junction. It should be for the same height. Here to here, mostly the adjacent marginal ridge. So here we go. Mesial marginal ridge of the distal marginal ridge of the 4 and the mesial marginal ridge of the 5 second premolar should be at same height. Okay, all the teeth should have proximal contacts. This is what we know also. All of the teeth, they should have tight contacts in between them. Okay, we shouldn't have spaces normally. The form of embrasures, generally in all the teeth, the occlusal embrasure tend to be as we move away from the midline. Here we go. This is the occlusal embrasure. As we move away from the midline, it increases from incisors to molars. The occlusal embrasure increases in size. And generally, the crowns of most teeth show lingual convergence. Okay, all of the teeth, they show lingual convergence. So when we say lingual to buccal embrasures, you will know that the lingual embrasure are wider than the buccal embrasure. Okay, wider and larger lingual embrasures compared to buccal embrasure. Anterior, posterior, you will see that in anterior teeth, the very minimal embrasures here, while as we go posteriorly, the embrasures are regular and more in shape, symmetrical in shape, okay, in posterior teeth. Okay, moving to the one of the last points, the curvature of the cemento-enamel junction of the cervical line. It depends on the cemento-enamel junction. It depends also on the contour of the teeth, because in the physiological contour of the teeth, let's say, the imaginary curvature of the cervical line, it is the epithelial attachment, okay, the soft tissue attachment to the tooth, to the dental tissue, okay. So it is found that in curvature of the cervical line in the proximal surface, all teeth, the curvature is more or greater mesially than distally. Okay, this is a general rule. And we would say that generally also the distal surface is 1 millimeter less than the mesial surface. We will say that the extent of the cervical line, the curvature of the cervical line, it goes with the contact areas also. Okay, it is related to the contact area, but we say that mostly the anterior teeth exhibit high or greater cervical curvature compared to posterior teeth. Okay, for example, the incisors, if I need to see here, the incisors, this is the cervical line curvature. The incisors have long crowns, so incisally the contact areas are located incisally. So we will have mostly the cervical line curvature greater here. It goes to mostly 3.5 millimeters in the mesial part, maximum here, maximum mesial part of the central incisor, 3.5, until we go more posteriorly to the molars, we will have diminishing of the cervical line curvature until it goes to 0, okay, to 0 curvature, or no curvature at all. Final thing we want to say about the imaginary occlusal space, occlusal curve, sorry, or occlusal plane. We have two curves. Here you go. In A, you see the occlusal curve of P. It is called the anterior lateral, anterior posterior curve. Here, or the curve of occlusion. Okay, curve of occlusion or anterior posterior curve. And we know that when you view it here, the cusp tips will have gradual concavity curving anterior posteriorly, from anterior to posterior, concavity towards the posterior side. The curve of the maxillary arch is convex, while that of the mandibular arch is concave. The curve of Wilson, the second curve here in B, this is called the side-to-side curve. Okay, the side-to-side, when viewed from anterior aspect, and we open a little the mouth, we can say that the gradual curvature from left side to right side. See this imaginary line? This is all our imaginary occlusal planes. Okay, we can say that the maxillary arch is convex, while the mandibular arch is concave, and the lingual cusps of the posterior teeth are aligned at lower level. This is the last slide. The clinical significance, it is diverted throughout all your chapter. You can see, you can read it alone. What is this? Okay, final point is the geometric crown outlines, which you have always, you know that either it is a the shapes of the proximal surface, it is either triangular or trapezoidal or rhomboidal in shape. Okay, this is sometimes you get some questions of this type. You know that all maxillary and mandibular teeth, anterior teeth, sorry, have triangular shape outline, okay, from mesial and distal, while a trapezoidal shape on the buccal and lingual aspects of anterior and posterior teeth. This is called a trapezoidal. The rhomboidal outline is only found on the mesial and distal proximal aspects of the posterior teeth, okay, mandibular posterior teeth. Clinical significance, read it alone. I think I have put, yes, one diagram of the lobes. This is also a question that I get always. The lobes, what we call the multiplication of the lobes. Normally during tooth movement, here as you see graphically, the human teeth, mesial and distal, it is different normally. The mesial is different from the distal. So that's why you said it is different lobes or different development. Okay, because usually different teeth also, they are different, have different function. So one incisal edge is different than tricuspids, than bicuspids, than tricuspids. Okay, so teeth are different, so they think to appear to have more different developmental lobes. Now the lobe is a primary center of formation. So normally in the anterior teeth we have 4 lobes, 1, 2, 3, and another one lingually. All anterior teeth have 4 lobes. Cingulum or mamelons here, the cingulum on the other side, the labial grooves, okay? All these are indications of fusion of the lobes. Premolars also, they tend to have 4 lobes. The premolars here have 4 lobes, except for the lower second premolar, which is developed from 5 lobes. Molar teeth are all have, each cusp has 1 lobe. So if the tooth has 5 cusps, it means it has 5 lobes. Okay, like here. Wherever you have a tubercle, a supplementary cusp, it would be developed out of the normal lobe. Okay. Thank you for listening. This is done.